I'm Danny. It is the 6th of May and it is prime St George's mushroom season in Sheffield. So today I'm going to give you a quick rundown on how you can both find and safely identify this delicious spring mushroom. So the first two things we look at when it comes to the identification process of any fungi is the when and where of the mushroom. So what time of year it is and the habitat that you found it in as well. For example, if you found what you think is a St George's mushroom but it's in a pine forest in the middle of October, then you most definitely haven't got a St George's mushroom. As the name suggests, the St George's mushroom or the Calocybe gambosa can be found a few weeks either side of St George's Day, usually from around mid-April to late May. Unlike many other gourmet mushrooms such as the porcini or the chanterelles, you don't really have to go far searching for these because they're not really a fussy bunch. You can find them in towns and in cities, in grassy areas like parks and roadside verges, and you can even find them on the outskirts of woodlands too, especially if that woodland also adjoins a field. You'll often find the Calocybe gambosa or the St George's mushroom in high numbers, and because it's such an early fruiting mushroom, there's not really much else at this time of year that you can get it confused with, so it's a pretty good one for beginner foragers. That being said, it's always worth going out with somebody who knows what they're doing the first few times that you harvest it, because there are a couple of dangerous lookalikes. The deadly fibre cap, for example, can look fairly similar, but it does have quite a key identifying feature in that it has a red-orange staining when it's bruised or cut. And the livid pink gill is another mushroom that has pink gills at maturity and it has a pink spore print. So if you are ever unsure of a mushroom, a good way to double check is to take a spore print. You can just pop off the cap, lay it down on a dark surface or a piece of paper and wait for a few hours or overnight to see what colour the spores are. On the St George's mushroom, the spore print is going to be white. A few key identifying features to look out for in the St George's mushroom is this dome-shaped cap that flattens out when it starts to age. The cap flattens out like this. It can become slightly wavy at the edges and start to split and crack, but when it's young it has a very distinct dome shape. So the St George's mushroom are typically white, but they can vary in colour depending on the age and the habitat that you found them in as well. These ones were found in a woodland and they're quite sort of buff coloured. The cap has an inrolled margin, which means it tucks under itself at the edges there. The gills are white to off-white, very, very crowded, and they have a sinuate gill attachment as well, which means that the gills have a little notch just where they meet the stem. This is a really important identifying feature for the Calocybe gambosa. The stipe or the stem is fairly bulbous, especially towards the base. There's a bit of a debate on the origins of the Latin binomial name, with some suspecting it means club-footed and others believing that it came from the French word for gambus, meaning stilts or legs. So if we cut one of these mushrooms open, this is called a cross-section, we can see that the flesh is the same colour on the inside, kind of white to off-white and very, very firm. You might get a tiny bit of discolouring after a while, but there'll be no bruising or red staining whatsoever. You can also see how fleshy this mushroom is in comparison to the gills there. It's got a lot of flesh in ratio to these little tiny gills. So the St George's mushroom is often described as having quite a mealy odour, so the scent of flour or damp dough. But I've never ever really picked that up. I always think that they smell quite light and fresh. I could never really put my finger on it until I read an article by a forager named Jeff Dunn who described the scent as having a hint of watermelon rind, and yep, that is it. It smells a little bit like watermelon rind. As I've already mentioned, the St George's mushroom or Calocybe gambosa loves to grow in grassy patches like parks, roadside verges, in football fields, but you can also often spot a prospective harvest a few weeks before it actually starts to fruit, because the St George's mushroom loves to grow in a ring formation. As this mycelium grows outwards and starts to decay down all of that organic matter, it can cause a release of nitrogen, which makes the grass grow taller along the perimeter of the ring, making it seem a lot more lush. If you go and have a look and have a little rummage through the grass, you can often find little mushrooms popping up. It's still a few more weeks left of the season, so grab your basket, head out into your nearest grassy patch and see if you can find any of these highly sought after little mushrooms.